Hello once again, it's Matthew from Matthew North Music. Hope you're doing all right. And today we've got a new video for you. But as ever, if you like the kind of videos I make, be them about music, music gear, retro technology, old computers, stuff like that, then please hit the subscribe button. It really does help the channel to grow. And it's completely free. You don't have to pay anything for it. I don't do anything for money on this channel. And if you hit the little bell icon as well, then you'll be notified next time there's a new video. Now, funnily enough, talking of retro computers, you might notice something in the corner here. I've done a little bit of tidying up, and I think this looks rather good. For absolute ages, I wanted to get all my retro PCs in one place, and this little trolley that I got off Marketplace for a tenner seems to do the job perfectly. Now, I have two separate keyboard and mouse setups because the keyboard for the Amstrad and its mouse for that matter are its own proprietary connections. It's not like standard sort of serial or anything. So I had to have them on separate keyboards, but it also meant I didn't need a full KVM box. And I literally bought this switcher for £5.75 including shipping on eBay. And there's my 486 with the classic Windows 3.1 setup, and then I can flick the switch and I've got my Amstrad that's running MS-DOS shell. And the great thing about these computer racks is because a lot of people aren't using them so much these days, you can pick them up for next to nothing. In fact, a close friend of mine even gave one away the other day on Marketplace. Had I known about it, I'd have probably had it myself. Anyhow, today's video is about this. This is the Behringer Model D, which is basically a clone of the classic Mini Moog synthesizer. Now, I was using this live last week when I did my first Department Factory show in 10 years. Had a few problems along the way, including the regulator dying in the power supply of my other synth, so I only actually had this one synth for the show. And while it worked well, it does have a problem with tuning. And I'll give you a little demonstration of what I mean by that. Okay, well, one of the good things about this synth is it has two audio outputs. So I've got one going to a speaker and I've got another going to a guitar tuner. Now, I've got everything set in the middle at the moment. And if I switch on its reference tone, which is a digital oscillator, and this is purely for tuning the synth, I switch it on and it's showing me there, it's giving me an A note and it's absolutely accurate. Now, I've got my BeatStep Pro here, and I've got it set to play a load of A notes. And if I start it, well, you can see on here that it's actually saying A sharp when the tuner's in the middle. And if I stop that and then I go down a couple of octaves and press A there, then again it's saying A sharp, down another octave, A sharp, A sharp. In fact, if I go right to the top, then it's out again. So basically, this is roughly a semitone out on that control. Now, that's not a huge problem because if I just hit the A here, I can just turn this down. And that's now giving me an A. The control here is almost down one notch. Now, that's not so much of a problem, apart from the fact that when the synth gets warmer, the tuning does naturally drift. And so with that in mind, it means that I'm going to have to be retuning this a lot more than I should do. And I found that I was almost had to go past the end stops to get it in tune, and I was actually having to play everything a semitone or a tone differently to get the keyboard in tune. So what we need to do is we need to tune this. Now, this is an early model and these did have tuning issues. So what we need to do is we need to get the thing apart, and there should be some trim pots inside, and that way we can actually tune the synthesizer. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to unplug that a moment. I'm going to take the power out because obviously you don't want to be taking things apart with the power out, and I need to remove a bunch of screws. So I've got my trusty electric screwdriver. I will probably use a hand screwdriver to put them back in because you need to be a little bit more careful, but for getting them out, my good trusty £10 from Lidl's screwdriver does the job magnificently. And actually, since I made the video about this screwdriver, I've used this quite a lot and I still haven't had to recharge it. It's still on its first charge. So, yeah, I think this is a pretty decent bit of kit, to be honest. Anyhow, we've almost got them all out now. Oh, there's one down here. Okay, so there's all our screws. We'll put them aside. And then if I lift this up, we should get to see the circuit board. And this is actually pretty simple because we've basically got 3 sets of trimmer pots there for the range and the scale. And by using the beat step and a guitar tuner, we can tune each oscillator and then it will hopefully work. So all we actually need is a jeweler's tweaker, which is a little screwdriver like that. We need to have our guitar tuner, which I've got here. I'll just move this across so you can see it better. If I put something under this like my drill, then that should show up on camera better. And we can do some tuning. So the first thing I need to do is I want to make sure that the tuner is in the middle and it's all there. I'm then going to plug the power in and I'm going to leave it on for about 15-20 minutes. And this way it means it's warmed up a little bit. And so we can then, you know, check it better. But if I just hit an A at the moment, I need to plug my MIDI cable in, don't I? Just be a bit careful when you move this because you don't want to get any shorts, but actually it's a pretty good board because these are actually designed to be removed and then you can actually put them into Eurorack cases, or you could get something like one of those Waldorf MIDI controllers that's got slots for Eurorack, and then it's like having a mini Moog. Anyway, I'll go down a couple of octaves. So I have that low A there, and you can see there it's almost a semitone out. So we'll just leave this on for 10 minutes and then we'll see how we go. Okay, it's been on a little while now and I have had a little fiddle around with it. So what we need to do first is we need to set our scale control, which is this pot here for the first oscillator. So if I play an A note off the beat step, you can still see it's at A sharp. So we will now adjust that to hopefully become an A. And there we go. We're on an A now. Ooh, slightly out. Let's just see if we can get that even better. I mean, this is going to vary a little bit because of it being warming up and, you know, the temperature and whatnot. Let me just adjust that a little bit more. But yeah, that's saying A. Now we need to change the range control, so we need to go up a few tones on the beat step to say that. And obviously there you can see it's coming a bit closer. So if I now adjust this, to then be an A. Okay. So if I now go through the octaves, so yeah, it's slightly out there now, so we need to adjust this one again. And go up the octave again. Again, that's. So let's just adjust this one again. Right, now we need to adjust this one again. It's a little bit of a, you know, cat and mouse thing really. You just need to. I would say that's pretty good now. So I would say oscillator 1 is now tuned. We now need to go to oscillator 2. So we turn oscillator 1 off, we turn oscillator 2 on, which is there. Again, make sure everything's in the middle, and I've got everything kind of set roughly to the same place. I might just knock that one down actually a couple of stops and just see if that makes any difference. I'm not sure if it does. I need to turn it back on, don't I? There we go. So yeah, it's gone slightly flat. So I'm going to adjust that again. So I should have had a lower setting on the pitch range. And again, that's gone slightly out. So that's now the highest it will go. And again, that's slight. So it's never going to be perfect, but that's pretty good now, and that is using that's set to 32 inch. So if I play an A now, and I just flick between. So yeah, the higher it goes, the more it goes out. I'm going to try it on 16 actually, because that's kind of in the middle of the range. And I think that's probably going to be the more sort of median value. So let's tune that down there. Again, we need to adjust that again. Right, that's bang on now. That's bang on at 16. So if I flick, so it's never going to be perfect. However, if I go to there, I'm only having to tweak it slightly in the range. But I might just check it again on this, see if it has drifted. Yeah, and it has drifted slightly, so I think we can improve that by tweaking the range again. Right, well, I went on waffling on, tuning the other two oscillators, but to be honest, you don't need to see that. It's done in exactly the same way. However, I then left it for a while, about 2 hours in fact, and then I did some more tests. Okay, well, I've left this running now for about 2 hours, so it's been on permanently for 2 hours. Let's see what it's like. So if I go to an A, it's showing G sharp. If I go to a C, it's showing a B, but obviously slightly flatter. If I go up a couple of octaves and go for an A, again, G sharp. So we still have a problem with the oscillator. And I think you probably do need to leave these on longer than 25-30 minutes. I think probably maybe an hour was more likely to sort of make sure it's okay. It's actually a relatively warm day here as well. I don't know if that's affecting it as well, but yeah, we definitely need to look at the tuning. So I'm going to look at oscillator 1 again, which of course is this oscillator here. So we'll stick with our low note first. And now we've got to turn it the other way to what we were doing earlier. So there's our A there. And then on our scale, and then we go to this one. And check that. Now that's showing A sharp. So again, it's another game of cat and mouse. Just adjust that one. Now you hear that? I'm just going to check my MIDI cable, make sure there's no... That's better. I think my MIDI cable there might have just gone in a bit loose. I actually think a little bit of the interference might be a poor quality USB cable powering the BeatStep Pro. I think with these things you actually need to have really good cables giving power to these devices. Right, okay, I think we're good on that one now. So I think now that should hopefully be in tune as far as the main oscillator is concerned. But let's try and look at oscillator 2. Ooh, that's well out. If I just turn that up manually so it does go to an A. So all of that is in tune as far as the scale. It's just the actual initial pitch is wrong. So again, we're on oscillator 2. So I'm going to tweak that once. So we will now turn that one up to an A. And blah, 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 I'm tuning the other oscillators again. But in essence, we need to set the octave to the 16 number. You put the pitch control bang in the middle, and then you can start tuning. And if you've got a low note to do the right-hand pot, and then a higher version of the same note to do the left-hand pot, then you should get something in the right ballpark. Right, okay, so that's now tuned. Right, I now think that... No, that one's gone out now. That might have been because I knocked that. Yeah, that's close enough. So if we now have all three oscillators on, turn them all up to about the same level. And then we detune them slightly, then we get that nice Moog sound. And there we have it. Now, there's one other thing to note with these synths. The little screws that hold, the little nuts rather, they move around. So when you're putting the case back together, you just want to make sure that they're all lined up, or else you could be screwing in maybe 3 or 4 of them before you realise that one's slid out. Then you've got to take everything apart and put it back together again, which could be a pain. And now we've got a pretty much in-tune Model D. Took a lot of tinkering with. Moral of this story is leave it on for a couple of hours before you do anything, and then eventually you get something that sounds like this. Model D hooked up to the BeatStep via the LM1 drum machine, and with this triggering that, I can hit the play button and we get this. And there you go. Yeah, this is probably one of the most boring videos I've ever done, but I think it does serve a purpose. And the purpose is that there's a lot of faffing around with things like this to get them in tune. And certainly, even though I left it on for like 15 minutes, 20 minutes to start with, that just wasn't long enough to get it accurate. I mean, now it's been on a while and it's staying pretty stable as it is. So yeah, my recommendation is switch this on for an hour, then start tuning up and you should be okay. Anyway, Hope you found this video useful. If you did, please like and subscribe and all that stuff, and I'll catch you on the next one.